right. The much to do about the yearly annual excursion south for Kevin as he checks out some of the finest recruits in the land. So, Kevin, of course, people need to follow you to catch the real gold and the complete look, the comprehensive look. But what do you have for us today in regards to what you picked up?
Yeah, 23 days on the road, a lot of fast food, I think it was 6,100 miles driving around, saw a couple of Ohio State commits and plenty of targets. I think of the biggest names that we saw, David Sanders out of North Carolina, the big-time offensive tackle. Not really ready to sell on Ohio State's chances there. I wouldn't say Ohio State leads, but I think Ohio State has done a great job of staying in there. I think it's just going to be a matter of convincing Sanders about the distance not being as much of a factor. They do have an international airport in Charlotte Douglas Airport, so it does fly to Columbus, Ohio, and I'm sure he would get some good NIL money. So even if he could treat his parents to plenty of trips up to Columbus to check them out. We had a chance to see a couple of big-time defensive linemen out of the state of Alabama with Zion Grady and with Malik Autry. Autry's an Auburn commit. The pair are going to come up and take official visits the same weekend. I think that Ohio State feels that it has a really good shot at landing both of them. Of course, you have to flip one of them. But I think that Grady and Autry would like to go to the same school. And when you look at their lists, Ohio State is one of a few schools that kind of fits the bill there. And then one other name that I know Ohio State fans are very concerned about is Dorian Brew out of Conroe, Texas, a northern suburb of Houston. There's been, a lot of information contradicting other information about where Ohio State stands. I think Ohio State has a really good shot on that one. I think that one's either Ohio State or Texas. He's kind of a little bit of a homebody in a lot of ways, so I think he wants to be near family. Being at UT would have him close to his dad. Being at Ohio State would have him close to his mom. So, yeah, you got all of that there, but you can go to BuckeyeHuddle.com and check it all out. Again, it's been a couple of weeks, but I've just had a whole hell of a lot going on and have not been able to jump on any shows. So this is my welcome back to being on air.
And welcome back. It's great to see you. Great to have you as always, of course. Well, Steve, at one point you told us, I believe in the chat, that we may have camps going on like Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. One of them obviously got cleared out of the way to make way for our show. But what have we picked up this week thus far?
I'll let the others answer this because my dogs are going crazy just a second.
I should have picked up on that tip from a few seconds ago, but I thought we had cleared the way. Tony, what you got?
Yeah, today is kind of an overflow 7-on-7 day, so not as imperative that we be there. And so we had camps. We had Camp Tuesday. We'll have another one tomorrow. Got to see some interesting guys the last yesterday. I think the first guy I'll start with is Eric McFadden, who is already at IMG. He's going to be a freshman this year. Has an offer from Ohio State, has offers from Georgia. He's a wide receiver. Offer from Florida State, Arizona, schools like that, and is going to be a freshman. He's a 2028, which is an insane thing to think about, but he was really, really impressive. Super quick. Reminded me of who was the guy from the slot receiver at West Virginia a few years back who has ridiculous highlights.
Austin?
Yes, exactly. So there's some of that with him, and but he's at his top two schools. His dream schools are LSU and Ohio State. LSU has not offered yet; they eventually will. But to think that he's going into his freshman year, he's like, yeah, I'm going to decide between LSU and OSU. It's like, yeah, we'll see. And as I wrote in the story, I put in the story today, he's like 1,270 days away from being able to sign. So we'll see if anything changes between now and then. But he was really impressive. Tavian St. Clair is always there. It's interesting. He's kind of like he's a camp counselor at this point. I don't know if he's getting money like the players that can work camps to get paid for it and coaches at this point, because he's there all the time. He's working with quarterbacks. He's going first, showing them, basically what to do, but also getting work in. And so it's just there's always people visiting in terms of recruits, so it's always good to have the leader of the recruiting class there. And I think that's one of the benefits of having an Ohio quarterback as opposed to like a California quarterback who like I can't come over for all of these camps and visits, but I live 30 minutes away, so Tavian St. Clair can make it for any kind of thing they need, and he's always available, it seems.
Yeah, I agree on Tony's assessment of Eric McFarland. He was fantastic. He could put his foot in the ground, change position, just really had a wonderful day. Nobody could cover him. And we're talking about guys several years older than him that couldn't cover him. We also had a chance to get a real first look at a name you're going to want to know. His name is Angelo Smith, and he's no ordinary Smith. He happens to be the younger brother of Jeremiah Smith. Now, he's a class of 2027, so a year older than McFarland, but Angelo is still needs that growth spurt to happen because he is very much a slot right now, and it needs to kind of fill out. I mean, you just got to remember how young some of these players are that we're talking about. Ohio State, rising seniors are 25, rising juniors are 26, so he's a rising sophomore as a 27. So, not even thinking about a learner's permit or anything like that. And, I was very impressed with him. Brody Keefe, a talented wide receiver, class of 26 out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Myers Park High School, already a frequent visitor to Ohio State, doesn't necessarily need to see anything. He wanted just to come out and work under Brian Hartline. I will have a story on him coming later this afternoon after the show when I have a chance to sit down and write it. That's kind of where that one is. A lot of interesting targets at quarterback aside from Tavian St. Clair. I think the biggest, most immediate name is going to be 2026 quarterback out of American Heritage in Florida, Dia Bell, the son of Raja Bell, the former NBA star. I think that one is going to come to a head here pretty soon with a decision. He's kind of finishing up his visits, and then it's going to go into decision mode. Don't necessarily have a date there, but I like Ohio State's chances there. I wouldn't be putting in any of these, crystal ball type of things quite yet because I haven't convinced myself to go that far. And one player that I'm going to mention that it's just a shame how, if he were a year younger, I think he would get offered. But just with the glut of receivers that Ohio State has in 2025 in that class of what it's looking at. But Genoa Alford, who is out of the state of Florida, he just to remind everybody who was there, Tony and Steve, he was the kid in the blue T-shirt that went and was able to make some spectacular high-point catches. Somebody's going to get a steal with him. He's not going to end up at Ohio State, but when I'm asked about what I was most impressed with at camp, I have to put Genoa on there because I was very impressed. He comes out of the South Florida Express program, 7-on-7. So that he's already had to pass a litany of tests to just even be involved with the 7-on team that is South Florida Express.
Yeah, and 24/7 says his only offer right now is Pitt. So, but yeah, he was really, really good yesterday.
Yeah, there was a lot going on yesterday. I missed the first 2 days of camp last week because I was in Hilton Head, so I got to go yesterday for the first time. Very impressed with a lot of the talent that we saw. Our guys, Bill Kurlick and Pat Murphy, came back and noted that 7 players were offered yesterday, plus some of these underclassmen already had offers, like Brody Keefe that Kevin mentioned. I talked to him as well, and he said that Ohio State and LSU, or rather Ohio State and Tennessee, I think were maybe his top 2 schools at this point. And, I guess we'll see how that turns out. He can't sign, obviously, till a year from December. Dia Bell, outstanding quarterback from Florida, was there. The number 21 player overall in the country. He was probably the highest rated player along with Tavian St. Clair, who's one of the higher rated players in the 25 class. They were both there throwing the football. Some other guys, they offered a 2028 quarterback, Neiman Lawrence from Miami, Florida. He's with the South Florida Express as well. And they offered him. He was one of the 7 new offers yesterday, along with wide receiver Mike Brown from Spring, Texas. Let's see, Eric McFarland, as you guys laid out, the 2028 wide receiver at IMG by way of Las Vegas, Nevada. Dakota Garant, maybe you pronounce
That's
it
how I'm
Grant.
saying it until I'm told
Grant.
otherwise.
Yeah, Guerrant, and he's from Harper Woods, Michigan, 2027. So Ohio State trying to make some inroads up there. Braden Robinson, wide receiver from Texas, Red Oak, Texas. He's the number 175 prospect right now in the 2026 class. He was offered. Here's a stud, D'Angelo White from Cleveland St. Joe's, a 2027 tight end. He is something in the 6'3", 220 range, give or take an inch and 10 pounds either direction. He is a stud. He ran a sub 4.840, somewhere in the 4.7s. My friend Mark Porter from Scouting Ohio told me somewhere in the 4.7s range. And Ryan Day, Chip Kelly, and Keenan Bailey, the tight ends coach, were all fawning over him yesterday, watching him run and make catches, and they ended up the day offering him. So that was big. Another one, a linebacker, Leafau Luma, something of this effect, Loumah, I believe, or Meh. He is from Sammamish, Washington, which is the same alma mater as JT Tuimoloau. And JT came out on the field and spent some time with Leafau and some of the other guys from Washington who were there. And Leafau, a 2027 linebacker offered by James Laurinaitis yesterday. And one more guy, Camden Portis, a cornerback, 2026 from Charlotte, North Carolina, Myers Park, the same school that the wide receiver Brody Keefe is from, same class, 2026. So we'll see what's going on. And back on D'Angelo White, he's from the same high school as Bo Jackson, who just committed to the Buckeyes from Cleveland St. Joe's. So obviously they'll be keeping tight rein on D'Angelo White. He's going to be one of the top players in Ohio, I predict, for 2027. Oh,
We've got an ACC.
one more note. I got this in. Obviously, they're having the 7-on-7 over there today for some of the teams that didn't make the big 7-on-7 next week. But Jake Cook, offensive lineman, committed to Louisville from Westerville North, a 2025 prospect. So he's going into his senior year. He is at Ohio State today and working out one-on-one with the offensive line coach, Justin Fry. So we'll see if Fry sees what he likes to make an offer to Cook and then ultimately try and flip him from Louisville to his hometown school, Ohio State. I don't think it would take much to get him to flip. I think Cook is a Buckeye through and through if offered by Ohio State.
Well, another pretty good one that got plucked up by the Buckeyes this week. Number 1 rated player in the state of Maryland, according to 247 Sports, 4th rated safety, another top 50 player. And when you're looking at top 50 players in this 2025 class at this point, you got to go down a list of ways to find them. It's typically like the first or second player on a team, but for the Buckeyes, it's like 7 top 50 players, Steve, at this point, with one Fahim Delane.
Yeah, from Olney, Maryland, Our Lady Good Counsel. Is this the same school that Dwayne Haskins attended? Does that sound right?
He was the Bolus school, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
he was the Bullis school. Okay.
But there have been good counsel people at Ohio State. I know that.
Yeah, good counsel. This again, they just continued this run on defensive backs, and it's like if their defense could just be corners and safeties, they would win the world championship every year because they've got the best ones in the country committed to them. This guy Delane is the number 4 safety. I had somebody on my chat the other night. And he's a little further down the list than some of these guys they've got, with Tavian St. Clair, number 2 overall, Devin Sanchez, number 4 overall, and Naeem Offord, the cornerback. Sanchez and Offord are both cornerbacks. He's number 6 overall. Carter Lowe, the offensive lineman, number 33, and then Fahim Delane at number 50. So that is 5 of the top 50 are currently committed to Ohio State, and they're probably in position to land 2 or 3 more. And it was interesting. Somebody in my chat the other day wanted to know how realistic it would be for them to get 5 of the top 6. And of course, Bryce Underwood, the number 1 player on the list, quarterback from Michigan, is committed to LSU. I said, well, what it would come down to is they got to find a way to get David Sanders Jr., the big time offensive lineman from Charlotte Providence Day School. He's number 3 overall. Got to find a way to get him in, and he's got a visit upcoming to Ohio State, as I understand it. And then the other one is Duncanville, Texas wide receiver DeCorian Moore. He visited Ohio State recently. He's number 5. And Moore, he visited Ohio State recently, and Ohio State is up there for him. It seems like it may be Ohio State, LSU, Texas. Texas is probably picked by everybody as the one to beat for him. But it would be unprecedented if one school were to land 5 of the top 6 players on a given list. And yet Ohio State's fighting, competing for number 3 David Sanders and number 5 DeCorian Moore just as hard as anything. And obviously, again, I think for me, and we talk about this all the time on the show, the focus, I mean, they're great. They're killing it on skill position players, quarterbacks, wide receivers, DBs. Where they need the help the most is offensive line, defensive line. And, that's where they've really got to put a lot more emphasis, I think, going forward with this class in 2026 as well.
Yeah, with Fahim Delane, he was somebody who I think was ranked a little bit higher earlier in the cycle, has kind of been caught by the pack, at least according to the recruiting services. A lot of times people will be like, why did this guy get dropped? Well, it's not necessarily a guy getting dropped. It's a matter of other guys getting fully evaluated and moving up. But any way you slice it, Delane is a very talented player, number 34 overall in the 247 composite rankings. You're talking about a stud. I mean, and you look at the class, you look at the way everything is set up, and now what is the next step? Is it Dorian Brew? Is it Trey McNutt? Is it both? Is it neither? I mean, I think if Ohio State just sat there and said, we're done, this is going to be a defensive back class for the ages. You bring in one or the other, then it's, that much more amplified. And then if you were able to bring in both, do the math yourself. But I think that Brew is much more likely than McNutt at this point, but Delane always felt like a major must get. Let's not forget he has a brother who plays at Virginia Tech, so there's a lot of concern that he might go and follow his brother to Blacksburg and go, be a Hokie. But credit to the Ohio State defensive coaches and staying on him. And at no point did I ever really feel like this one was getting away from Ohio State. I'd always felt like it was a matter of when. And win was a couple days ago, and now we stand here, and I think we're going to see in the next 7 weeks a lot of dominoes start to fall, because I think a lot of guys are going to want to decide before the start of their senior seasons.